On July 24th, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will address a joint session of the U.S. Congress at the invitation of the leaders of the Democratic and Republican parties. They have extended this honor to the Israeli Hitler in the midst of a genocidal war that has so far resulted in the deliberate murder of more than 40,000 Palestinian residents of Gaza, of whom more than 60% are women and children. Netanyahu is being welcomed by Congress not only despite his crimes, but because of them. For all his fascistic arrogance, the Israeli Prime Minister is, in the final analysis, a political agent of U.S. imperialism. His speech will have the character of a progress report, in which Netanyahu will explain to Congress how the genocidal war being waged by his government is advancing the capitalist, geopolitical, financial, and corporate interests of the American ruling class in the Middle East and throughout the world. But on the same day that Netanyahu is addressing Congress, thousands of opponents of the genocidal war, working people from all sectors of the economy, and student youth will be demonstrating in Washington, D.C. to express their outrage at Netanyahu's presence at the Capitol. The Socialist Equality Party, the International Youth and Students for Social Equality, and the International Workers' Alliance of rank-and-file committees have called for and urge the widest participation in the demonstration in Washington, D.C. on July 24th. We are calling for this demonstration not to beg Congress to change its policy. Nearly 9 months of war have demonstrated that the corporate flacks in Washington are indifferent to appeals to reason, let alone to morality. The invitation to Netanyahu should put an end to all illusions in changing the policies of the bipartisan agents of U.S. imperialism. A new political orientation and strategy is necessary. Therefore, the purpose of the July 24th demonstration is to set into motion a new and powerful mass movement of the working class against the Gaza genocide and the global escalation of imperialist militarism by the U.S. ruling class and its NATO collaborators. The Gaza genocide is not an isolated atrocity. The brutal assault on the Palestinian people is just one front in a global war instigated by U.S. imperialism that threatens to escalate into a nuclear cataclysm. There can be no separation of good imperialist wars from bad imperialist wars. The same governments that are supplying Israel with bombs and artillery shells to murder Palestinians are intensifying the proxy war in alliance with Ukraine's fascistic regime against Russia. The Biden administration, crossing all previous red lines, is now sanctioning attacks on Russian territory and declaring that U.S. policymakers will not be deterred by the threat of nuclear war. At the same time, the Biden administration is relentlessly intensifying a confrontation with China. The Gaza genocide and the escalating conflicts against Russia and China are part of a global imperialist rampage led by the American ruling class. Recognition of this essential fact is the precondition for the development of a powerful mass movement against war, genocide, and fascism. At the July 24th demonstration, the Socialist Equality Party, the International Youth and Students for Social Equality, and the International Workers' Alliance of rank-and-file committees will call for the building of a mass movement against genocide and world war on the basis of the following strategic principles. First, the struggle against war requires an unconditional and irreversible break with the two corporate parties, Democratic and Republican, and the establishment of the political independence of the working class. Second, The movement against genocide and against war must be international, uniting workers in every country and on every continent on the basis of their common class interests. Third, the fight against war must be anti-capitalist and socialist, since there can be no serious struggle against war except in the fight to end the dictatorship of finance capital and the economic system that is the fundamental cause of war. Join the demonstration in Washington, D.C. on July 24th. Speak to your co-workers and friends, and build delegations from your workplaces, schools, and neighborhoods. Distribute this statement on social media and via email as widely as possible. Stop the genocide. Declare war on war. For more information on how to join and build the demonstration, go to wsws.org/July 24.